Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're talking about how to make your traveler's notebook, your bullet journal, your planner look beautiful, even if you don't know how to draw. I will, as per usual, put links in the description to everything I talk about in case you'd like to grab something for yourself or a gift for someone else. And I will put timestamps in the first pinned comment because we're going to go through, like I said, 14 ways. We're going to go through stickers, rub-on transfers, stamps, washi tape, magazine clippings, photographs, tracing, scrapbook paper, wrapping paper, catalogs, Canva designs, greeting cards, souvenirs, and junk mail. That's it. That's all. All right, so let's start with stickers. And this one might take the longest because I have so many ideas to show you. So stickers. Sticker books are my favorite thing ever because you get all these really pretty stickers and they're all bound together and they don't float around your workspace. You can just put them on a bookshelf. So this one is called the Antiquarian sticker book. And if you pop it open, it says it has over 1,000 exquisite Victorian stickers. And you can see I've used some of them. I have quite a few remaining. Lots of florals in here, fruits, animals, butterflies, random things. And I'm probably not going to use this whole book. Some of these are not my style, but a lot of them are. So ooh, yuck, I don't want that spider. So what I'm gonna do is go through, use it for, I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, until I get to the point where I've used all the ones that I find pretty. And then I will take it to the library, to our exchange pile, and put it on there. And then someone else can perhaps use some of the other designs that I didn't like because, you know, different strokes. So as you can see, lots of variety here. Oh, cute kittens. See, there's cute things in here. It's not just tarantulas. Now, these are matte finish, which is my favorite. I don't usually like it when they're super shiny. And then in the back, there are letters. Every letter of the alphabet with lots of different illustration styles. Okay, so that is the Antiquarian sticker book. Then if let's say you're trying to make your planner pretty, or maybe some of your journal pages, or you're doing both. You're doing a bullet journal where you're drawing out planner pages. This is something that I mentioned a lot. If you've seen my videos, you're like, oh no, it's that seasonal sticker book again. But it's because I like it so much. I think I'm on my 4th one. I just keep ordering it over and over and over. So this is the Paper House Life Organized Seasonal Sticker Book. And what I really like about it, this first page kind of gives you a glimpse of what's in the rest of the book. They are watercolor based. So I do a lot of watercolor myself, and these kind of suit my style, so they kind of blend seamlessly with what I am painting. And then I can, you know, quickly just throw on some color and it'll coordinate nicely with whatever else I'm putting in. But there's some of it has lettering, a lot of it has cute little illustrations of animals and holiday details and things like that. Some of them do have a little bit of foil for some interest. They are matte finish. Most of them are on a white background, but some of them are also clear. And it goes through all the seasons, all the holidays. So you've got like winter here. I use this deer almost every time because we have deer in our backyard. You get into February, lots of Valentine type things. March, St. Patrick's Day. Then you get into springtime with some bunnies. Look how cute is that? Bunnies and flowers, more pastels. Okay, Easter season. Then May, we have more flowers. Then we get into summer. We have some tropical stamps, vacation themes. 4th of July. Cookouts, watermelon, ice cream. beachy stuff, flip-flops. And then fall, my favorite, we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, apples, pumpkin spice and everything nice. I've already used a couple of these. Lots of Halloween. And then Christmas, merry and bright, poinsettias. And then we have at the end things for birthdays and just kind of random party situations, and some habit tracking stickers in the very back. So again, it covers the whole year, everything you could need for a year to make your planner a little spiffy without drawing. So that's the Paper House Life Organized Seasonal Sticker Book, and in the description there is a link to these. They are available on Amazon, but you can also get them at the Paper House website, and I have a coupon code for their website. Okay, so option 2, we have rub-on transfers. These are so much like stickers, except they end up being completely flush with your paper, so they don't really add any bulk to your journal. And here's an example of something I did. I have a quote from Gandhi, and then I have an illustration here that's a rub-on transfer, and it's not like this piece, this piece, this piece. It's just one rub-on transfer. And what I did was I took, like, whenever I mess up on a page in my journal, I rip it out, I use a ruler to get a clean cut, rip it out, just like Dead Poets Society, and I tuck it in the back pocket of my journal. And then when I want to do something like this and add a little bit of visual interest, I will cut a piece, do the rub-on transfer, then cut another piece to be like a little frame or mat, and, you know, you've got a little bit of texture there as well. So this is a little set from Wandic, W-A-N-D-I-C. And you open this up and it comes with popsicle sticks to make your life easier. It comes with 4, but I just dropped one. So you have 4 popsicle sticks, and then you have all these sheets. And I think, yeah, so there's 3 of each design. We have that design, and that's that one again. We have 3 of this one, and then they gave me an extra, so then there are 4 of this one. So what you do is you cut out, let's say I want to do like this purple flower with this love you. You cut out whatever you want your design to be, and then you peel it from the backing paper like this, place it down on your paper, take your popsicle stick and just rub it really lightly. You don't have to like push super duper hard. You just rub it really lightly, and this is what you're left with. It looks like you painted it, except you didn't. So great little cheat way to get painterly designs in your journal. So rub-on transfers, they come in tons of different styles if you browse through Amazon, but I'll put a link to this specific set because I found them very useful. So again, down there in the description in alphabetical order, it'll say Wandic, W-A-N-D-I-C. Now we have idea number 3, which is stamps. And you can go with good old-fashioned block rubber stamps like this. This one is Inkadoo. This is American Crafts again. Or you can go with kind of the more modern kind of stamps, which are cling stamps, and they store flat like this, so you can put them in some kind of a binder situation. These are from InLoveArts. It's a website. I'll put a link below to them. And they have all kinds of beautiful designs. But you can get stamp pads of varying types. For journaling, I recommend getting a pigment-based stamp pad because that way it has less of a chance of bleeding through your paper. Dye-based tends to sink down in that paper and bleed straight through. And also pigment-based, once it's dry, becomes water resistant. So you can get out your markers or your watercolors and paint in those designs and color them real pretty. Or you can use colored pencils to color in your designs. So this one is from Memento Luxe. It's cocoa color. You can find black, any of the colors, or even like gold or bronze. Lots of choices. You can also emboss your stamps. So what you do with that is you use an embossing ink pad. This one is ancient, but it still works really well. This was from Stampabilities a long time ago. But you get that nice and covered, and then you stamp it on the page. Then you use an embossing powder. This one is my favorite. It's from Ranger. It's called Super Fine Gold. I have probably had this container for 15 years. That's how little you use at a time if you're careful about like collecting it, reusing it, putting it back in the jar. It's just like using glitter. So you sprinkle it on like this, tap off the excess, and then you use a heat tool and it raises and you get these kind of pretty edges, and that actually makes it easier to watercolor inside of because you have kind of a boundary and the color can't run all over the place. But yeah, so you can get things like mandalas, you can get pretty little illustrations, and again, you can think about how your layout is going to work. Like I could just emboss this little gold globe here, and then I could write about maybe places I've been in the world, or a quote about travel. That would be nice. Or you can kind of frame a layout. Like you could take this and you could put one in this corner and one in this corner, and then write in between in your journal page. You could paint the whole background and then stamp on top of it and just kind of layer colors and designs. So the sky is the limit with stamps and what you can do with them in your journal pages. All right, idea number 4, washi tape. I have quite a collection going of washi from lots of different sources, but I just got this box a couple of weeks ago and I think it's so cool. It's from Emmoolife, I guess is how we pronounce it, and you open it up like this, and look at that, 42 rolls of washi, and it ranges from like really skinny tapes like this all the way up to great big illustrations like this and everything in between. So one of the things that I could do here is take these that are kind of like postage stamps, and I could, you know, I could pick just one and put it on a pretty little colored background, make it really minimalist, and then write a quote about, like, for example, just put that one with the butterfly and write a quote about butterflies. Or I could stretch it across and I could put like a title here and then write below it to just kind of frame my page. So a couple of options there. Or I could take the great big ones like this, but you see all these beautiful illustrations you get? And so you could cut it accordingly so that you get just the ones that you want. You could actually go around and fussy cut, although I think that would be pretty difficult. So I would probably cut it like here and here, and I'd actually take a ruler and rip so that I get a little bit of a rough edge and it looks a little bit more natural, and put it there like this, and then I could letter a quote underneath that. So washi, so useful in so many ways, and certainly good for journaling. Okay, so next we have number 5, magazine clippings. And I like to use magazine clippings for big cutouts. So this is a bigger journal. This is composition notebook size. It's a gallery leather of Maine journal, but you could use just, you know, a composition notebook from the drugstore just as easily. And I like to clip out big lettering, photographs, illustrations, and then use them as journal prompts. So this came from Martha Stewart magazine, Martha Stewart Living, and it was a Halloween issue, so it had good things and bad things. And then I wrote about those. I just made a list of things that I really like and things that I really don't. For example, lima beans. on the bad list. All right, so you just use some glue tape, and my favorite is from Staples glue tape. Sometimes you can get this on Amazon. I'll put a link if you can. Otherwise, I get it in the store. And what I typically do is when I get my ink rewards from like recycling ink, then I use that coupon and I go in and I buy a couple of packs of this glue tape. So it rolls on really nicely and looks good, and it's flat and flush against the page. Good things and bad things. Also, I'll take stories, like full stories like this. I'm not sure what magazine this was from, but it had photographs of Jacques Pepin and a little article about him. It says, "At Home with Jacques Pepin, a masterclass." And then I wrote about how much I absolutely adore the man. So I like to do anything that I can find that will end up being a prompt. And then, you know, just plain magazines. This one is from Fine Gardening. Of course, beautiful flowers all throughout here. Look at, oh my gosh, look at this one. So I would cut this out, I would stick it in my journal, and then I would maybe put a quote about flowers, or I would write about flowers or springtime, and again, use that Staples glue tape. And I do try to note which magazine it came from so that I can give proper credit. But look at this one. Sometimes you'll get gorgeous pictures as well as lettering together. So like tough yet pretty. And then I could write about how that applies to my own life. So look through any magazines you can. We, like I said, at my library have an exchange pile. So once people have cut up their magazines and they've used what they want from them, they will put them on that exchange pile, and then you can take it and get what you would like to use out of it. So great idea. If your library doesn't do that already, maybe go and suggest that. And then these are so beautiful. If you just want like gorgeous artwork to include in your journal, there's a company called Stampington. They're a publisher. They make the Bella Grace magazines, Bella Grace Field Guide to Everyday Magic, which is a guided journal, and like Where Women Create, Where Women Garden, things like that. And these are two of the titles that I like the best. This one is called Art Journaling. This one is Somerset Studio. And I hesitate to even call these magazines. They're really more like just beautiful books. They do not have tons of advertising in them. There's just a couple pages at the end that usually recommend like stuff from their own store. But you don't have like ads for dish detergent and cars and pharmaceutical things in the middle of the beautiful pages. It's just beautiful artwork. And so what happens is people will contribute their own pages and they will talk about their process. How beautiful. So they'll tell you exactly how they made these things. They're great to use for just inspiration for your own art journaling and junk journaling. But you can also cut out the illustrations and tip them into your own journals and just make sure to give credit. So like, look at this. Make friends who force you to level up. The time has come. So you would cut out this and then make sure that you mark that it came from Art Journaling Magazine. And this is the October, November, December 22 issue. And the artist, they always give credit, so you want to give credit too. Go back and figure out. This one is from Lisa Till. So make sure to give her credit. And even if you're not doing it for any kind of a monetary purpose, if you're not, making any kind of an income from it, it's still a good habit to get into, to give credit where it's due. Mark down where it came from. For a couple reasons. First of all, maybe someday you do end up making money from it. You don't know. Maybe years from now you end up profiting. That way you can easily go back and reference where it came from. And also, if you see something in your journal and you're like, gosh, that was beautiful, I want to do that again, then you can reference where you got it and go back to the original source. So like that was Art Journaling, like I said, October, November, December 2022. This one is July, August, September 2020, and their back issues are usually available on the website, on Stampington's website. So I'll put a link in the description to that. So really neat ideas here from Art Journaling Magazine. And then Somerset Studio. It's called an interactive mixed media journal because in addition to ideas and explanations from the artists, it also has like supply lists and actual projects that you can do. And it includes like scrapbook paper inside the book that you can cut out and use. And I actually checked with Stampington and they are totally fine with that. They want you to be creative with their books. So Art Journaling and Somerset Studio, highly recommended. And then maybe whatever magazines you can get on an exchange pile at the library. And get some nice big journals to make use of those big pretty pages. This one, like I said, is from Gallery Leather, and I put it in an Elitzo cover. And then this one is from Peter Popper Press, Versailles. All right, let's move on to the next idea. All right, my next idea, number 6, photographs. So I happen to be a photographer. I've actually been a professional photographer for a lot of my life. I wasn't a great illustrator. I wasn't very good at drawing when I first started journaling. Practice has made perfect. I've gotten a little bit better as I go, but I've always been able to lean on my pictures. So I will go through my phone and I will pull out my favorites and print them. So I have an Epson printer. It's just a workforce kind of all-in-one printer. It's not special. It's not made specifically for photographs. Just a good old-fashioned like copy, print, scan kind of thing. And it has water-resistant ink, which is fantastic. So I print on any kind of paper stock. This is actually just recycled copy paper from Staples, and it works just fine. It's not meant to be for fine art prints. It's not meant to be for giclée or anything like that. I just printed it from my Epson onto Staples recycled copy paper, and I like it because it's so ridiculously thin. It's like 20-pound paper, and so it doesn't add too much bulk to your journals. And then I can write about whatever the picture was. In this case, a really beautiful maple tree that's in my backyard. As you can see, I like to photograph flowers. So I've also printed some on Hahnemuhle has some really cool paper stocks that are made from alternative resources like agave and bamboo and hemp and things like that. Sugarcane. So I got a pack, just a sample pack of their papers, and these are some of the prints that I made. Again, it's just on that regular Epson Workforce Pro printer, and we've got some pretty pictures here. So it's really hard for me to draw a peony, but I can pull one of my favorite pictures of one and pop it in my journal and write about it or put a beautiful quote next to it. And of course, you could treat this as a good old-fashioned scrapbook, and you could go through your photos, use any kind of a collage maker app. I like InShot. You can make a collage of your Instagram photos or just snapshots you've taken of your family and friends and pop those in here as well. So photographs, number 6. Okay, next up we have number 7, which is tracing. Effectively, it's cheating. It's faking it until you can make it with drawing. So what I will do, and I have my phone recording this video, so I can't show you exactly, but what I do is I get my phone and I open up pexels.com, Pexels.com. And that's a place where people have uploaded images which are Creative Commons licensed images, meaning that you can use them in your own creative work and you can use them to make other artworks. You can also just open up your own photos that you have taken. Either way, open them up on your screen, and your phone actually acts as a little light table. So you take your phone, you put it under the page like this. It works really well on these Leuchtturm notebooks. It's 80 GSM paper, and it's just thin enough that when I put my screen on the brightest setting, I can usually see the design through it. And then I take a drawing pen. This one is a Tombow Mono drawing pen. It's pigment based and it dries instantly. So This is a set of 3, size 01, 03, and 05. I usually find that 03 works the best for this purpose in an A5 journal. And what I'll do is put that phone underneath, get this pretty little hummingbird, and I just sketch the outline, just so that my proportions are going to be correct and his little head is not 15 times bigger than his body. Does that make sense? Wait, bigger than my body, isn't that a song? John Mayer? So just sketch the outline, just to give yourself a little help, just to help you on your way toward a nice drawing. Get that outline, get those proportions, then I take the picture on the phone and I sit it next to me and I just kind of sketch from what I'm seeing to get those details, like his eyes and little details of his feathers and things like that. And then I go in with watercolor and I paint the hummingbird. So tracing, it's my secret tip. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, my next tip is to use scrapbook paper. That's number 8. So you can get scrapbook paper in so many places. You can obviously go to like a Joann or a Michaels and just get it sheet by sheet off the rack and get pretty little designs. You can also get a subscription box. My favorite is Your Creative Studio. Amanda is amazing. She puts together really cool boxes that are themed for each month, and they'll have stickers and stamps and scrapbook paper that all coordinate. And then you can also go on Amazon and find some fun things. This one is called, this is really neat, let me show you. So these are 6-inch squares. And this one had a choice. You could either get just watercolor painting, you could get just acrylics, you could get, gosh, there were some with like mushrooms. There were just all kinds of different little design packs. And this one has 3 sheets, or 2 sheets, 2, right? 2 sheets of each design. And I actually split this up and gave my mom a bunch of them. So now I have 1 of each design. But look at these beautiful landscapes. So, you know, you say, I am not capable of painting that. I'm not capable of painting Tuscany. Okay, so you take this, and on a bigger journal, you can just put the whole thing in. In an A5 journal, you would want to cut it to fit. But there you go, you have a nice pretty illustration. You could take something like this and do some lettering in the sky. Same with the beach, you could do some lettering over the beach. Water. This one reminds me of Appalachia. I think this looks like a back road in West Virginia. Making hay in Ohio. Beautiful little Kentucky horse farm. So that was the landscape set, and then these are the just abstract acrylics, or oil painting texture. That's what it was called. Look at these. So any of those could make a nice background. And again, this is called watercolor painting or oil painting texture. And I don't know the name of the company. I don't see a name on this, but I'll put it down in the description. We'll put it under the word scrapbook paper, okay? So scrapbook paper, and then I'll put this set. And when you go to the listing, it has other sets that you can choose from if you like different illustrations. My only beef with it is that it said it was 160 GSM, and there's no way it's that thick. I'm gonna call it more like 100 GSM paper. So you can use just full illustrations like those were, or you can put together your own little collage. So these are from Your Creative Studio, and these were just she had a little book of little scrapbook papers that was just like this tiny. So I pulled out 3. All of these, let's see, this one has a musical instrument. We've got a cello and a piano, but the cello and the piano pages have butterflies. And so I found a sheet with just butterflies to kind of anchor it in the middle. And then I put some pretty vintage writing in the background and balanced it like that. And you get a nice little collage. And then I thought I'd write about classical music. So I put a list of all of my favorite pieces of classical music. Okay, so the next tip, number 9, is really quick and easy, wrapping paper. So of course you can do this for any occasion. You can get Christmas wrapping paper, you can get just floral. My pro tip is that I have found the best quality, most inexpensive wrapping paper at TJ Maxx up by the checkout area. And so, you know, you can repurpose and reuse, which makes it an eco-friendly activity. So let's say you have wrapped your Christmas present, now you've unwrapped it. You can fussy cut around this cute little reindeer and Santa, paste that in your journal, and then write about your Christmas. Easy peasy. Okay, now we have number 10, and that's catalogs. So this is Gudrun Sjoden, absolutely gorgeous catalogs for fashion that comes from, I believe, Sweden. So you can get on their mailing list and then you choose what you want to buy, and then you've got this catalog sitting over here, and it has such beautiful patterns and colors, gorgeous designs. There's also pretty lettering. There's things like this where you can cut out that strip and then try to match the colors with your watercolors or your colored pencils. Fun little activity. And let me show you what I did with this one. So I used paper punches. Like this one is 2 inches. This one is like 1.5 inches. This one is a pretty little scallop design. So I'll put a link to these in the description if they're still available. But you take the paper punches, and also I'll take a ruler and I'll sit like during a football game or a baseball game, and I will just go through and I will rip up the catalog. And so I've got like Welcome Spring, I've got just a pretty texture, the number 45, I've got colors here, like this. Look at that pretty little design. Nice photograph. This is a pretty little border. And then look, this is gorgeous. So, like this. And now all of a sudden I have elements to make a pretty little paper collage. And what I love about the Gudrun Sjoden catalogs is that they're on uncoated recycled paper. And so a little more eco-friendly, and also they're not super shiny in my journal, and they're nice thin pages so they don't add too much bulk. So there you go, you've got color and texture and design and lettering all to put into a little spread. No drawing necessary. And then another option, this is from one of my favorite catalogs, J. Peterman. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld person, but J. Peterman was where somebody worked. Remind me, who on Seinfeld worked at J. Peterman? Anyway, so they are a clothing company, and what they're known for are these amazing catalogs which have watercolor illustrations of the clothes, and then they tell little stories. So here's this absolutely gorgeous dress, and then it tells almost like a little flash fiction short story about this woman who wore it. Just totally fun, made up, frivolous, adorable stories. And so if you're into fashion, this is kind of a neat way to add some color and illustration patterns into your journal. So any kind of a catalog like that, get on the mailing list and then use them. Okay, so next we have number 11, which is Canva designs. So you can go on the website, canva.com, and you can do a free trial of Canva Pro, which makes it even more wonderful. So if you do the free version forever, they have a certain number of designs that you can use in your little layouts. If you do Canva Pro, you have even more designs and illustrations which you can use. They have photographs, they have beautiful fonts, they have pretty illustrations, and you can take them as is. Like this one was just already put together like this. Beautiful bookshelf, pretty little flowers, a key, and you can print that. So you can print it on, like I said, Staples recycled copy paper, or you can, this was made into a note card, so you can print it that way. But whatever format you end up using, then you can cut that out, pretty little fussy cut, and put it in your journal. You can also take multiple designs and put them together. So I pulled this pretty little bunny illustration, the ribbon illustration, and the carrot illustration, and I put them together and made this little bunny. I could not have drawn him myself, but he looks really cute, kind of compiled like that, almost into a little bunny collage. And so I would maybe fussy cut around this and pop him in my journal. I also made my own stickers with Canva. So I took this pretty little floral illustration and I got some, this is craft paper stickers from Amazon. And I have to tell you, I will put a link to them in the description if you'd like to get some for yourself. It was really, really hard to get them to line up properly. It took me forever. But once I did, I kind of had a system going. So I put these pretty little flowers here, and then I put lettering with a Percy Shelley quote about spring. And then I took this graphic of vintage lettering, and so now I have a circle sticker with that. So you can make your own stickers with Canva. And then also, I made these. These are to send so that kids in my family can color them and they can put them up on display in their house. But why not do this for your kids? So you could print these on whatever kind of paper you want to go in your journal, hand them to your kids, have them color them, and then you can put your kids' designs in your journal or your planner. So I got these cute little bunnies and chicks that all coordinated. How cute are those? Okay, so Canva, I mean, we could do a whole video, we could do a whole series of videos on all the lovely things that you can make using that website. Okay, now we have number 12. How about greeting cards? So these can obviously be greeting cards that you received, also postcards, but what about going to the dollar store where you can usually get a couple for $1? And we have an example here. There is nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. Super pretty little cards. These are from a company called Tree Free Greetings. They are made in New Hampshire. Tree Free, I'll put a link in the description to those. And then these are die cut note cards that came from Paper House. I'll put a link in the description to those. They also have stickers that match them. And then we've got like pretty little note cards. I think I picked these up at TJ Maxx. Something like that could be lovely, just placed in your journal and then write about it or write a quote next to it. This is a postcard that a friend sent me from Scotland. How cute is he? That is adorable. So if you've been to the place, you could write about it, or you could just tip it in so it doesn't mess up what your friend wrote on the back. And then write about your friendship and how cool it was that they sent you a postcard and thought about you on their vacation. And then this one is one just like from the dollar store. This is actually a sympathy card, and you could cut that out and then you could write about grief in your own life. The quote says, "The loss of a loved one is never easy, but the challenges you've faced have been especially difficult. It will take time to adjust and lots of loving care to heal." Self-care, give yourself a card. Okay, so greeting cards, that's number 12. Okay, so next we have number 13, souvenirs, and I'm using this term loosely to include basically all the random ephemera that we come across in our day. Not necessarily vintage ephemera that you collect from 100 years ago, but the stuff that involves our lives. So first of all, I've got my little wrappers from the first ice cream cone of the season when we walked to get ice cream. And I just carefully peeled it, and this one is nice and tidy, and I could tip that into my journal and then write about our favorite ice cream place. And this one did not come off quite as cleanly, but it's authentic. Then we have a bookmark that they were giving out at my local library, and it had a real pretty quote from Helen Keller: "Keep your face to the sunshine and you cannot see the shadows," with some sunflowers. And then, you know, you're thinking about redecorating your bathroom and you go look at wallpaper samples and maybe keep one and write about the process of renovating. So much to write about there. This was in a watercolor set that I got from Artsy. These were from years ago. But you could cut out this little illustration that says thank you and do a little gratitude journal page. This is from a conference from several years ago for climate change, but isn't that sweet little calf with the butterflies and flowers around him adorable? So I could paste that in and talk about the conference. Earth Day, they were giving out wildflower seeds. So you could plant the seeds and then take the paper from it. All the flowers of all the tomorrows are in the seeds of today. Proverb. And so you could cut this out and put that in your journal and write about Earth Day. I went to a county fair and they were giving out these ginormous like bumper sticker things. And it's fishohio.gov, and the idea was that you could measure the fish that you catch, and it told kind of sizes of different kinds of fish. Well, what I did was cut this apart, so I just have a little piece like this, and I keep this handy on my workspace so that when I'm finding things to cut out of magazines and catalogs and souvenirs like this, I can figure out really quickly whether it will fit in my composition book journal. Okay, so you go to a wedding, keep the invitation, and then you can place that in your journal and write about the wedding itself. And then these are tea bags, wrappers. And so first of all, you could just collect several of them and put them in like a collage and then write about your favorite teas. But the other thing that you can do with wrappers is carefully open them like this, like that, and then flatten it out. A ruler helps with that, or you can use a bone folder like this. Make it nice and flat. Oh, that smells so good. It still smells like the peppermint tea. But take your little punch. There you go. And now you have a silver little circle to put in some kind of a collage. Nice little embellishment. Free and easy, repurposing your tea bags. So I'm calling that souvenirs, but it's really just like all the little ephemera that you collect in your own day. Okay, and then finally we have junk mail. So we get so much junk mail and it's really easy to just pop it in the recycling and move on. But what if you could harvest some journaling materials from that junk mail? So first of all, you just have plain old envelopes, except that this isn't plain. It's actually got kind of a nice texture to it. It's a pretty butter color. So what I could do is cut this into like a usable little size like this. Rip that, make it look a little bit kind of natural. And then I could write a little something on here, do a little calligraphy and put that into some kind of a collage. Or I could cut this to a smaller size. And then I could take my circle punch, and now I have a little circle that I could add into my collage. Okay, the other thing that I could do is open up the Spectrum ad and look at this. That looks like notebook paper to me. So again, if I want to give it a rough edge, I can take my ruler, do that, take my ruler here, do that, and now I have a nice little note paper to add some color and texture and pizzazz, and I can journal on this and pop that in my notebook. Another option, this is from junk mail, but it's a beautiful postage stamp. So rip those off and keep them, and then you can add those little stamps into your junk journal collages. Another idea, these were from, let's see, Garden for Wildlife, from the National Wildlife Federation. And I see lettering here, I see pretty little birds. So I could, if I don't want to keep the part about the sustainable gardens, I could rip it like about here, like this, and then write about creativity. Or I could keep the whole thing and I could write about natural gardening and what I'm trying to do in my own backyard. And then this was just an envelope. I think it came from like Shutterfly or something like that. It was with paper samples. So I just carefully tear this. This is nice paper. It actually feels like there's some cotton content here. So I could cut this out and use it for layering in a journal. And then here I have kind of a fun little border. And those are all just free, reusing, repurposing from junk mail. There you go. So 14 ways to add color and texture and illustrations and photographs and designs to your own journal and planner pages. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found something helpful here. If you did, please click like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff so that the algorithm brings you back to me. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.